I'd like to call this meeting of the Elkhorn Common Council to order. It is January 20th, 2025 at 5:30. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Tim Schroeder,
Here.
Peter Harvey,
Here.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Here.
Ron Dunwoody is absent, Scott McClory,
Here.
Ken Minell,
Here.
Kurt Harkness.
Here. Is there anyone here for public comment? Would anyone like to be heard? Jason, are you going to speak about Officer Termott?
Yes.
I was going to call on you when that comes up.
That works.
I'll do anything to not have to read this paragraph. Anyone else, second chance for public comment? All right, moving on, we have a consent agenda for the council meeting minutes of January 6th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Bills payable. We've got bills in the amount of $8,644,479.23.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pay the bills. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
All right, now we're going to move the mayor's report up next, and if we could have Officer Termott come up. I've got a plaque here, I'll just read it out, and then we'll have Jason say a couple words. In honor of your service, School Resource Officer Matthew Termott, thank you for 21 years of valued service. Your hard work and contributions have made a lasting impact on the community. We extend our deepest gratitude and wish you a fulfilling and joyous retirement. Thank you so much. Let me give you that. Jason, if you'd like to say a couple words, maybe we can get a picture after that.
Sure. As on behalf of the Elkhorn Area School District, I just want to give a great big thank you to the Elkhorn Police Department, and in particular Officer Termott, for his service as our SRO officer. He continued that excellent tradition, and one that we look forward to continuing going on down the road, doing a great job working with the students and serving as a great example to community policing and being a positive role model and proactive for our students and making our buildings safe. So thank you, Officer Termott. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we had for the, oh. Officer Termott, are you still here? Do you want to say anything? We're going to give you a chance.
I appreciate the opportunity to work with you.
We've got about 10 minutes to kill here.
Oh, good.
All right. Good enough. Next, we have a presentation from Nate Constantine, a delivery team leader for Bray Architects. Everyone has a chance to look at your packet. A lot of information.
Good evening. All right. Well, thank you for having me, City Council. Starting out, thank you for the opportunity to do the study of the existing fire department. As we go through here, here's just a brief agenda of what we'll cover tonight. We do not have the entire facility study completed at this point in time, as we did have to start from scratch just on existing floor plans. There were no existing floor plans available, so appreciate just about another month, and I believe at the second meeting in February, we'll have a complete analysis of the existing structure complete.
Excuse me 1 second. Hey, Matt, what's going on with the displays?
Yeah, I'm taking over control of it because it's glitching. We've had some problems when that table moves around, so I'm gonna take it over and I'll just run through. So instead of you clicking, just let me know.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Part of the agenda tonight is looking at a draft of the existing facility study, as we will see a portion of it tonight, but not the entire piece. And then the other part is critical to understanding the ability of the existing facility study as well. And that is understanding the NFPA 1710 compliance associated to the existing structure. That's not necessarily tied to the physical abilities of the structure, but it is related to where the structure is located and how that functions for your fire department. And then at the end, we'll go through some brief next steps. As I mentioned, we'll be looking to come back with a complete analysis in February. So if you want to go to the next slide, and the next one after that. So as far as the existing facility goes, as mentioned, we did spend some time building the floor plans from scratch. Understanding the existing facility is important to say that currently it's built at about 14,400 square feet. We did go through an needs analysis with city administration as well as the fire department to understand that a new facility, if built, right, if we had to start over from scratch, which is no one is suggesting that, but if needed, that would be 18,800 square feet. So although it is approximately 4,400 square foot difference, we can get into that in future discussions if need be. I think the point being is that the department is being very strategic and thoughtful with the existing facility they have. They're making things work. But as you look at the pictures on the screen, you know, the bays are in rough shape as far as concrete and how water is draining off the trucks and snow and things like that. The living quarters on the second floor, if you've been to other fire departments in the area, you know, there is often a separate sleeping area, then a separate day area. If you have a crew member that is trying to sleep and you have a crew member that is not ready to sleep but just needs some wind down area, which is completely normal in other situations, having them in the same space is troublesome, and I'm sure the fire department staff can echo that as well. Also, you know, the next picture just shows kind of the close quarters they have to prep food. I mean, people are living and working in these, serving the community in this building. So you can imagine multiple shifts trying to work out, you know, the logistics of shift prep and shift food storage and things like that. And then the third picture towards the top, Mr. Lindstrom, yes, is just kind of showing the open office environment. Some of the ceilings in rough shape. You can kind of see some of the black coming out of the ductwork, and we'll get into some of that as we go through. So although not in complete analysis, there are some glaring needs right off the bat, and we'll just brief through a few more slides here. So specifically looking at the site, as that is an extremely important thing. This is a back-in only station. That may not seem like a big deal, but from a preparation and logistics side of things, back-in stations do have their issues. And so if we were designing new, the goal would be to have them be able to drive around back, be able to pull straight in, and kind of have a drive-through situation. Again, ideal situations, not mandatory, as we do also build in back-ins, but that's kind of a second-tier approach if considered a new approach. The other piece is that I believe Chief and others would echo me in saying that unless you drive something smaller than a pickup truck, you're not going to be able to drive even entirely around the facility. So that's just troublesome. And then the third piece is that they're having issues just with the slope of the grade as they're coming out, where they're actually bottoming out with fire engines as they leave the bay which is causing damage to vehicles, bumpers, mufflers, etc. That is causing wear and tear on the gear itself. So the site has its own challenges. Obviously, it serves a purpose and is doing things well, but just some of the things that are glaring. Now, on the same side of things, we don't look at things that are just poor, right? We look at things that are also operating in a very good capacity. So as you can see on here, there's some highlighted in green, some highlighted in kind of an orangish red. The orangish red is what we would consider in poor condition, and the green is what's considered in good condition. So the south side, although limited on parking, you can see in upper right-hand corner, there's currently available 7 stalls with an ADA in addition. It is nicely paved, it's in good shape, there's nothing wrong with it, which qualifies it to be in good condition. However, if we think about the logistics of operating a fire station, the true need is 16 stalls, as you have 8 staff members on one shift, going to 8 on another shift, and so how do you facilitate parking in those shift changes? Shift changes may only be a short period of time, less than an hour. However, when you have staff potentially parking on city streets or other things, other places, to accommodate that shift change, that it may be a logistical headache. Next slide. The next 3 I will go through rather quickly, just because these can get very, very dense. We look at 3 major systems: plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. On the plumbing side of things, you can see the good, fair, and poor condition identified in the upper left-hand corner. There are some things that are in good shape, such as circulation pumps, water heaters. Those have been recent investments into the facility. And there are some things that are in less shape when we consider like the sinks in the garage and the lack of showers in the facility. On the next page, HVAC is probably the most glaring. HVAC is considered poor overall and just would suggest an overall upgrade at the existing facility, even if the facility stands for another, you name it, right, however many years. There's a major need related to exhaust in the garage. There's a major need for ventilation in general between the offices, the garage, and like the main office area as well. I'm happy to go into much more detail when we go through the full facility study report next month, but in the efforts of kind of getting through just a snapshot of where we're at in time, I'll move through and can answer any questions at the end. The third slide is electrical. We look at electrical in 2 portions. What is the actual electrical components of the building? And then what are the life safety factors? When we talk about life safety, we're talking about generator, fire alarm, PA system, egress lighting, and so forth. This is middle of the road. There are some issues with panel boards and circuits not being properly wired from the first time around. Lighting should be replaced as you're operating in fluorescent lighting throughout your building. And so that's an energy hog in comparative to newer systems in today's aspect. And that also relates over to emergency egress lighting as well. This is middle of the road, again, HVAC being the big glaring item. The next piece we do take a look at on the existing facility for tonight is going to be related to the exterior analysis. Just a few things you can see on the left is kind of an intro sheet, and when I come back in February, I'll actually have a binder that I can hand all of you, and you'll be able to read this and fine print in front of you. But you can see green items such as the metal fence and concrete soffit, lintels, and brick are overall in fair condition. However, there are some items that need to be addressed as far as the existing facility and some of the upkeep on the facility. Those items are highlighted in red, just on a list basis on your left, and then some photos and areas where there is concern, where brick has been deteriorating and is falling apart. Some rusting going on the building, bollards that have seen significant rust. Nothing that can't be fixed, but just areas that could be addressed as well. That is the existing facility study as far as looking at the physical structure of the building. As mentioned when we kicked things off, the other piece is looking at the compliance related to NFPA 1710. This is specifically tied to this study because where the building is located ties into how the building serves you. And so it felt like this was an appropriate study to tie with the existing facility. As NFPA 1710 states on that handbook cover on the screen, is a standard for the organization and deployment of fire suppression operations, emergency medical operations, and special operations to the public by career fire departments. Okay, well, what does that mean? So the next slide goes into specifically what we're after in the NFPA 1710. Standard NFPA, or NFPA standard 1710 establishes the following for fire departments. You have an 80-second turnout time and a 240-second travel time. Those times summarized is 320 seconds or 5 minutes and 20 seconds as a total response time. So the NFPA has set a benchmark goal is that your fire department should be meeting 90% of dispatched incidences in this time. There are obviously many situations that do not meet that threshold, but what is directly related to that is if the 90% threshold is not met, insurance ratings are affected by ISO. ISO is directly related based off of a analyzation of this NFPA 1710 summary, as well as a couple of other minor pieces that tie into things. The governing factor of the ISO rating is the NFPA 1710. I want to say it takes anywhere from 85 to 95% of the score. So insurance rates for property owners are directly affected by the ISO rating. Your current ISO rating within municipal boundary, within the city of Elkhorn's boundary, is at a ISO rating of 3. And outside of municipal boundary, within the fire area, fire district that this serves, is a 5. Now, although not on this slide, and we'll get to it here in a second, the ISO ratings do rate from 1 being your best score to 10 being the lowest. 3 is a fairly good score, and you're going to see that here. But the one thing that I just do want to touch on here is right now, your ISO rating outside of municipal boundary is based off of a fire engine being located very close to the Geneva National property. However, that fire engine is not being utilized or serviced by, there's nobody that staffs that engine. So when the city goes through its audit through ISO, they will notice that and kind of make aware of that. We're not necessarily, we're not exactly understanding why ISO maybe didn't catch that in future or in past reviews, but we do feel like the ISO ratings will be reflective as soon as the new audit is complete. Chief, I hate to put you on a kind of a spotlight for a second, but do you have any idea of when the next audit would take place?
So the last one took place in '22, so it's normally 5 to 6 years. But when I changed my name on the ISO, they could come at any time with a new chief in place. So, but normally it's 5 to 6 year rotations where ISO will come in. I'll usually go 6 months to a year at a time.
Yeah, and Chief, you'd be more than welcome. Obviously, keeping the council up to speed on when that would occur, when that audit would occur. So just wanted to give some frame of reference to the data of which this is being used on. The next slide does touch on current travel time. So we started specifically in the city of Elkhorn. The current travel time of 5 minutes and 20 seconds is identified in a green coloration on the map, specifically looking at the city of Elkhorn. The way this is calculated is based off of speeds in which the fire department is able to travel, as well as utilizing local GIS data to identify addresses. We're not talking about properties, we're talking about addresses. There's kind of a small difference there. So there's a total number of addresses within the city of Elkhorn municipal boundary of about 3,400 addresses. The total addresses that the 5 minutes and 20 second drive time serves is 3,393. So just shy of that, serving approximately 98.9% of the addresses served. As we identified in the prior slide, the threshold is 90%, and so that is why your ISO rating is very good. If we go to the next slide, you will see that there is a light green and a dark green area on your screen. The light green is your primary fire response area, and then the dark green is your secondary. So if they need backup, they're quick to call you in that secondary item. You're also to be calling out into that area. So for the purposes of our study, we focused in on the primary service area. So if we look at the primary response area, total addresses served is about 3,100, almost 3,200 addresses. Again, the purple area, just looking at your current fire station, and I apologize, I should have mentioned that on the prior slide, but all we're doing is looking at your current fire station serves that 3393 number. This does fall into 47.4 of addresses served. So this is where, from an analysis and just a data collection standpoint, starts to get concerning of we're nowhere near 90%. Like, how do we improve that? So we did a couple of things. One of the things on the next slide is just looking at a draft site analysis. This was based off of the programming needs that we went through with the fire department. And if I can say, they did absolutely nothing wrong. I would actually say that they were very conservative in what they asked for. So, okay, we're talking about bare bones needs, right? Not like want to haves, not, you know, pipe dream pieces, right? We're talking about a very conservative approach, but yet realistic approach to serve the city of Elkhorn and the fire district needs. So with that being said, we came up with that approximately, I want to just get the number right here, 18,000, just shy of 19,000 square foot building. To get the proper turnaround and the proper pitch so that we don't have that bottoming out, we looked at parcels within the city of Elkhorn that were 3 acres or larger, that were owned by city, they were city-owned properties. So you may think that that's actually a fair amount, but when you start to take the parks and retainage and utility pieces out, there's not a ton of parcels left. I want to say that there was 5 or 6 parcels left. So for the purpose of this study, we did look at lot 73, and that is, I understand there's some conversation around that, so that's why I'm here tonight instead of presenting all of this next month. Just related to lot 73, you know, this is just a draft site plan of what that could look like and how that serves the 16 stalls desired, plus the full turnaround and the driveway apron to prevent bottoming out and so forth. So looking at specifically parcels of 3 acres or larger, if we go to the next slide, we looked at, you know, what are areas that we thought could improve the addresses served, getting it up above the 47%. So we picked an address just north of town. If you look, or just north of the current location, if you look at the fire area served, it appears that much of your population or the fire area served is to the north and to the east. So it made logical sense that we studied a site just outside of downtown, but that was a little bit more on the north side. So we picked a generic intersection of County Highway 12 and Harvest Way. Much to our surprise, when we did the analysis of the 5 minutes and 20-second drive time area, that actually lowered the addresses served by about to 3129. And if you go to the next slide, you can actually see the comparison of percentages served. So your current fire station serves 47.4% addresses, and a hypothetical new single station just north of downtown only serves 43.7. So that brought us to our next step. The next step would be okay, hypothetically you walk away from the downtown location and we propose 2 new stations, one on the north side of town, approximately Evergreen Drive and Highway 12/67, and then one on the south side of town, hypothetically lot 73 with Morrissey Drive and Highway 67. If you go to the next slide, that would bring us to approximately 4,300 addresses. That is an improvement based off of your current single station downtown and gets us up to 61% of addresses served. However, that does not serve anywhere close to your 99% of your municipal boundary. If you look at the map, not the purple line on there is the municipal boundary, and the current single station served the city of Elkhorn really, really well. And so although this improves our ratio, it does not solve maybe serving the city of Elkhorn. Now obviously the fire department serves more than the city of Elkhorn, but understanding kind of the study aspect of it, we're trying to provide data to equip you guys with decisions. The third study that we did was looking at, okay, the existing site serves the city of Elkhorn very well. So you can, we relooked at letting that site, whether it's the existing station or something else, serve that area in purple. And then we looked at 2 other locations, one on the north side and one on the south side again. However, we moved them closer to areas that were more residentially dense. So the north, a hypothetical intersection of Highway 12, 67, and then County Road A. And then one on the south side at Palmer and Petrie. You can see those in the red stars identified. This does get our number even higher, gets us just shy of 6,000 addresses, which gets us to 83.4 addresses served. Now, I think we would love to make sure that we could get to 90%, but I don't think any of us would have envisioned that just based on this study that we would have been talking about hypothetically 3 stations. And I believe based off of some initial analysis, to get above 90% would be a hypothetical 4th station, which just seems very, very different than how you guys are serving things right now. 83.4 is a great score compared to where your score is right now when you look at your entire fire area. I don't think you're gonna get the highest rating, but maybe we can get the full rating closer to that, ISO rating 3 or something along those lines, which ultimately is an improvement based off of where you are today. So tonight, as far as like next steps go on the next couple of slides, tonight was really about providing data around, what the NFPA analysis did for understanding sites, understanding how the existing site serves the city of Elkhorn Fire, and then also would be just wanting to share some data around the existing facility. So in working with Matt Lindstrom and Chief, that we would like to come back in February with a full detailed existing building analysis to just understand that a little bit better. And then the piece that potentially looking for some feedback or a gut reaction and or questions is just wondering if we should continue to study sites that bring the fire department closer to the NFPA 1710 compliance. So with that, that's my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions from council at this point in time.
How old's the fire station downtown? When was it built?
Since we don't have original drawings, it's a little bit hard to totally identify it, but I believe it was somewhere in the 60s. I think there's a plaque on the wall, isn't there?
71, but I don't know if there was a structure there beforehand they just added on to. I have no idea.
Yeah, so there is a plaque there before, but yeah.
Now, if I make a comment?
Yes.
So I just for clarification, so the purple area from the existing fire station, right? That's what this area represents for the 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Because it's linked solely to addresses, with there not being a lot of addresses out here because it's undeveloped, so when the city does expand, that this area would be covered. So would it be fair to say that as these fingers extend out on these major routes, that you'd see something like that? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I don't know that it would be a total cone, but yes, I think that within those fingers, we're gonna see a high percentage of addresses served. It would depend on how complicated the roadways got. Obviously, similar to the analysis and a few slides back, the complication of how Geneva National is set up causes some timing issues. So as long as the roadways didn't get super complicated, we'd be able to cover all the addresses back there.
Anyone else have more questions or?
Not until the full assessment's complete.
Okay, final chance. Anyone with anything? All right, thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
Okay.
Trent, you're gonna talk to us about your equipment.
Yes, sir. So Adam had asked me to do a analysis of the fleet. So we had a mechanic come in and they went through our 4 frontline trucks. It ended up being, it was eye-opening. So I guess I would recommend, trying to get some type of a robust maintenance plan, a preventive maintenance plan in place so that we can extend some of the life of the vehicles. Right now, we currently do once a year service. I'd like to go to twice a year service on the frontline vehicles so that we can try prolonging the life on them. And, it would just make sure things are greased, make sure oil's changed, make sure everything's tightened up the way it should be, changing air filters. I'd like to formulate a plan to get ahead of the problems and fix them before they become emergencies. Right now, it just seems like we're kind of chasing our tail, trying to fix things that are breaking. Yearly per NFPA, testing of aerial devices, ground ladders, pump testing needs to be done. I've only been able to find testing for ground ladders and aerial device for 1 year from records. We just did aerial testing last year. I'm waiting for one of our apparatus to get back up and running so that we can do pump testing on the rest of them. I said, while we're doing that, I'd like to do DOT inspections too, to keep them in compliance when they're on the road. Taking a look at tires and just trying to follow NFPA a little bit more closely on what their recommendations are, and DOT. So we need to get ahead of it and get a robust maintenance program going so that we can try alleviating some of the problems that we've been having with the severe breakdowns of these vehicles.
I don't know if you're taking questions yet, but how does your budget look? I think we added to the maintenance for 25. Does that come close to paying for a robust maintenance program?
I can't answer definitively yes or no. I know the one mechanic that was there had thrown a number out for one truck, and that would eat up most of the budget. But I don't know, in that cover letter that the gentleman sent, that was in the packet, until they can get everything up on a lift and get wheels off and take a look at things, they really couldn't give us pricing at this point. So we're kind of, until we really start digging into the apparatus, we're really not gonna know what the true cost is gonna be, and then, prioritize getting things fixed as, severe deficiencies, get those fixed first, and then work on some of the higher, medium priority, and then work our way down to the low ones. I said, but I'd like to work from obviously most severe to minor problems to get it in a ready state so that it's operational at all times.
So, question, you said all our PMs are done annually. Are they all done at once, or are they spread throughout the year?
They're pretty much all done at one time, sir.
Okay, and when's that coming up?
Normally it's this month, but I kind of pushed it back this year due to the fact that he didn't want to come in and do anything until we get the one truck. Otherwise, he'd have to make a separate trip back to do the maintenance on that and then pump test it, which would just be an additional charge instead of just coming in one day and knocking it all out at one time.
With the new truck?
What was that, sir?
Waiting for the new truck?
No, waiting for one that's been out of service for quite a while.
Okay.
We've been waiting on parts.
So, and how much, you said you can only find records back how far on PMs?
Now, Siren Service has been doing service. We have a portal going into them, but there's not a whole lot of info. And I know I had talked to Ryan, the owner of Sirens, and he can get us whatever we need. They have it all on their system as far as what they've done. But from what Ryan's told me, and take it with a grain of salt, there's just been a lot of things that have been pointed out in the past that just they weren't worried about. No, don't worry about it. We're good.
I think it would make sense to request all that information so the city has a record of it, as well as you.
Right.
So I think this body can fully understand what has or has not taken place. Definitely, help support you. So we're gonna need that data, I believe. That would be my ask. Okay? We really do need to understand where we dropped the ball so we can stop that from happening again.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? I know there was a truck by truck description in our packet, which I hope we all read through, and it was quite extensive. I don't know if we need to go through it here tonight, but anyone else have any more questions for Trent?
Well, Chief, we've got vehicles dated with a build date of 2002, 2009, 1988. how do we get in this kind of condition? I mean, one truck's got no brakes on a rear axle. You got a major oil leak by a turbocharger, which could cause some, this stuff is like, really? We're putting people in these vehicles. I mean, from a liability standpoint, I mean, if any of this stuff was to break after we knew about it, it would be on our shoulders.
But I have to be able to roll down the road for emergency.
No, I'm not saying, I'm not saying run it like this, my gosh, no. But I think, I'm with my, fellow, alderman that gotta figure out how, this can't happen again. I mean, this is 4 vehicles. 3 of the 4, I mean, have enough things, DOT out of service deficiencies. I don't know if I want the thing out of the garage. I mean, not to turn it around. It's just some of these things, if, I would say if anybody doesn't understand what's written in front of them, that they've talked to somebody who knows what's written. Because these are some pretty extensive, expensive problems here that, I mean, because wasn't there just, what was it, December, right? The chief's command vehicle just blew a transfer case.
Correct.
And it's my understanding that the transfer case had never been serviced.
Correct.
And it would have cost us approximately $400 to do the service, but instead we decided to replace it at $7,400. Is that right?
That, I don't know what it costs to service it, that I don't have any idea.
Well, I'm sorry, I checked on that to find out what, about approximately what it would cost to service the transfer case.
Correct.
So, all right, well, this needs some deep looking into. Because I don't know, I mean, how do we cover this? How do we cover the city's responsibilities here with this many pieces of equipment in this kind of condition?
By getting into a robust maintenance plan and keeping it up and keeping up with it with preventative maintenance.
So, preventive maintenance has been the biggest. I know there was something in here that said there was no grease in the kingpins. I'm like, no grease? That, well, what do we do between now and then? I mean, between now and having this robust, you know, this could be 3 months, 6 months. I mean, this one engine's been down 11 months now.
Been down 10, 11 months out of the last 12, yes, sir.
So, I mean, how do is there something else you think we should be doing here, Chief? Like, I don't know, more equipment, you know, getting some way to cover our equipment or I don't know.
Chief, I have a question. So 2655, when our new truck goes into service, that one's out, that one will be surplused?
2655 is our newest piece of apparatus, that's a 2013, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what is the new truck, which vehicle does the new truck replace?
The new one is replacing the aerial that's sitting at the DPW yard right now, that's broke down, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is the budget that you have this year a good place to start with trying to bring these vehicles back into shape?
I think it's a good start, I just don't know how far we're gonna get with it. I don't know what everything's gonna cost, what kind of shape everything's in once they start digging into things.
What does the, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What's the National Fire Prevention's recommendation on equipment?
NFPA is 20 years total life, 15 years of frontline, 5 years of reserve, and after 20 years, they're down the road.
And we have a number of them over 20 years old currently?
Quite a few.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just clarification, Chief, did you talk to them at all, Fire Service Inc. at all, about giving you a cost estimate for what it would cost to address the most critical
problems?
It states in the cover letter, sir, until they get them on a rack, they can't give us a quote.
Okay, just double checking.
Let's get them on a rack. I mean, they're not gonna give us a number until we get them on a rack, so let's put them on a rack.
Chief,
We gotta know what we're talking, is it 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, we have no idea.
I'm with you.
Is that something you need a motion to have him start getting those numbers together? Okay.
Chief, my question for you is, you're talking about your 4 main pieces of equipment.
Yes, sir.
Are they of equal importance, or is 2 of them you gotta have and the other 2 are used on bigger events or something, or is it all equal?
So we have a pumper tanker that has a water pump or a pump on it, and it carries 2,500 gallons. It's gonna go out to rural fires.
Every one?
It's gonna go out to almost that or 2655, which is also a pumper tanker with an elevated waterway, 65 feet, just a boom. The other one's a water tender, does not have a pump on it. That's just for hauling water from either a hydrant or a pond or whatever and dumping it in a portable pool at a fire scene. And then we have an engine. Right now, we're running the pumper tanker every day, or we work as an engine, because our engine's been out of service. That's the one that's been out for over 10 months out of the last year. So each piece of equipment has a specific function on what it does on the fire ground, sir.
Need them all,
Yes, sir.
all the time, okay.
Plus, Jen, there's also that, there's a Mac, right, that's that 88 things down by, 1988 Mac that's over by, Geneva National. So,
That truck is pretty much non-roadworthy though. I didn't have them check that truck. I knew how bad that truck was. It's an 88. It's really not roadworthy. I mean, we've moved it a couple times just in and out of their woodworking shop, and the brakes are hung up. The water tank leaks, it won't hold water in it, so we can't put water in it to keep it in the garage, so it's there for ISO purposes.
Anyone have any more questions for the chief?
How long will it take for you to get all this data?
I can get all the data from Sirens, not a problem, that's tomorrow. I can make a call to Ryan and get everything, as far as getting everything up on a rack and getting numbers. That's me taking each truck out to Lake Mills and having them get it up on a rack and starting to pull stuff apart.
I would suggest
Would
putting a
you do
schedule.
one, will you do one at a time, so
Yes, sir.
is it longer than 1 day process?
That I'll have to talk with the gentleman about and see how long that would take.
Okay. Why don't you investigate that for us?
You want me to come back to you before I would go out there and,
I think it's gotta be done, doesn't it?
It has to be.
I get the impression from his cover letter that he's willing to do it, gratis, you know, I'll do an estimate, just like I did this. Am I misinterpreting his letter?
I'd have to call him to clarify that, but
Yeah.
it sounded like he was willing to put it up on a rack if any of you council members had questions, where you guys could go out there and get underneath it and look at it. I don't know if he's willing to go through everything and give us a quote for free. I need to find that out and get a definitive answer on that. So I just wanted some guidance on which way to go before I started doing stuff.
We'll start the process.
Well, you've already got some dollars for the budget for the maintenance.
Right.
So if that's what we're gonna have to use that piece of it, you know, if we're gonna carve into the budget for even the simple inspection, you know, I need 5 hours of labor just to take all the wheels off and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's 5 hours of labor out of the budget, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think they're gonna do it for free.
It's gotta be done.
Yeah.
this much work.
It's gotta be done.
Then you'll have a better understanding of globally, how much are these pieces of equipment gonna cost for, you know, every 4 months oil changes and every, you know, whatever, you know, I'm sure they can write us up something, a quote, at least a good guesstimate. But I got a feeling, I assume like everybody else does, that we're gonna be woefully short of the budget.
Probably.
Yeah. So.
But we gotta know where we're
Well,
at.
right, I'm with you, but, you know, so,
Piece by piece.
right.
Thank you, chief.
Yes, sir.
We've got a report for the city administrator.
Just real quickly here, we got a joint review board meeting, public hearing on February 6th at 4 o'clock, and then there'll be another public hearing before the planning commission on that plan at 6 o'clock, so that's all on February 6th. Casey Key, our HR manager, has circulated that survey to the staff for the mission statement, vision statement, and core values. So we'll be collecting those responses until the end of January. And then lastly, we are currently accepting applications for a new water superintendent, and those applications can be submitted through January 26th. So, and that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Adam. We've got reports of city boards and community partners, fire advisory.
Nothing to report at this time, except we do have a meeting this Thursday,
Okay, great. Library.
Tom,
6 PM.
thank you.
Good evening. Just a quick grant report. The library board has selected Dimension 4 Design Group as our architectural and construction management firm for the Flexible Facilities Grant. They've begun reviewing the facility and blueprints and have begun offering initial ideas to our committee meetings. Our next meeting will be on Friday, February 7th, where we'll be discussing design as well as possible stakeholder and public feedback. Thank you.
Good, thanks, Chad. Rec advisory.
Just our next meeting's on Wednesday, March 5th, at 5:30 PM.
Okay, thank you. Chamber.
Good evening. Even though it's not activity time, it is actually a very busy time for Kate and I at the Chamber office. Planning, executing all of our contracts, and I hate to say it, we're already planning fall and winter advertising of 25. We have taken a little different approach. We have 2 different venues. We're working with TMJ4 on a couple different things, and also a Chicago firm that's going to do some different radio topics that we've been working with some of our stakeholders like the Apple Barn, the Fairgrounds, Doosterbecks, where it will be a collaborative and it will have social media and blogging information connected to it. But upcoming, we have the Chicago Golf Show that we attend with partners and the Milwaukee Golf Show. We're also working with the Fairgrounds on doing some activities they have a very large camping group in June coming. I think it's taking the majority of the campgrounds. From what I understand, might be a motorhome type of larger group because they're looking for itineraries for their patrons. They're going to be here, some of them a week to 10 days at the campgrounds throughout southeastern Wisconsin. So we're assisting with that. Also in my spare time in some of those things, as I've mentioned in the past, I serve on the State Tourism Board. I'm also working on my IOM certification for them and working what that is. It's the Institute of Organized Management, but it's another certificate that I need to have for the DMO, which is Destination Marketing Organization. All these terms, you guys have your terms, I have mine. And then in March, we have what was called our Wisconsin Governors Conference on Tourism, which will be in La Crosse. And that's a multifaceted time. So that is all I have. Does anybody have anything else, any questions or concerns of me? Feel free to reach out to my office. And also, you notice that Katie James is not here, so I'm actually kind of filling in for her. I'm going to look at my notes. She's texted me here. She wanted to let you know that she has been under the weather and she went home sick on Friday, and she's still not feeling well. But she did get some great news that she got a $50,000 grant for the Elkhorn Area School District for social service support. She's very excited about that grant, and she said she's been working with Corey and Chris on the library grant, getting the next quarter paperwork turned in. So never fear, she's working on that grant for the city on that behalf. So, but she said she'd get out her grant monthly report for you.
If I could just add into that, I know Katie's also working with Matt on another RTA grant to help us get funding to design. Which street is it going to be, Matt? Do you remember?
Jefferson.
Yeah, Jefferson. So I know she's working on another street-related grant. So.
Great, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Chris. Moving on to new business, we've got discussion and possible decision regarding proposed resolution 2025-03, a resolution declaring recommendation of sole source procurement with Kapoor for design engineering services for the Centralia Street reconstruction and bicycle lane addition project, Phase 3.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Let's have a roll call.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion passes. We've got a discussion and possible decision regarding proposed resolution 2025-04, a resolution increasing residential garbage, recycling, and yard waste collection fee by 3.25%. Who's got this one?
Looks like I've got this one. As I indicated in the memo that Corey and I put together and that you can see in the resolution, this resolution was just a proposed resolution, so, you know, if you guys, obviously, whatever rate you want to do. But, you know, the bottom line is our contract with Badgerland Disposal, which is LRS, our contract has a 3% increase in the rate every year. So at a minimum, the city for residential collection has to increase our fee by 3% a year just to keep pace. And as you can tell from the memo, you know, there are some additional costs in there. It's not just LRS, because now that the city's doing the yard waste collection ourselves, obviously you're gonna have the wages of our DPW staff, equipment, et cetera, factors into that, as well as they have the dump site that they
Disposal of the
disposal,
yard
yeah.
waste.
So that sort of factored into there too, so it's not strictly the 3%. So with that being said, again, we threw out a 3.25% for 2025, which would be effective February 1 and would be on bills in March, but it's just for discussion, so.
And projected how much positive balance is gonna be at this percent?
Well, so the positive would be $8,192.
And what would it be just to make it even?
It would have to be 1.81%.
That'd be my motion then. We're not gonna take any more than we need to.
And I understand that. Just the one caveat is that we also do have the negative fund balance too, which we can talk about next, but yeah.
So what would that equal?
Oh, the dollar amount?
Yep.
It would be $20.21.
So if we went to $21.21, it would make us whole?
If you went to $20.21, it would put us whole by $272.
There you go, that's my motion.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. My question would be, so was it a couple $100 in the black?
Yes.
And that would go toward a positive fund balance? What's our fund balance now?
Fund balance is a negative $82,298.
82,000?
Yes.
Okay.
That's close.
I have one question. Based upon the resolution, as I interpret it, there's a portion of it that says, if diesel prices drop below X percent, there'll be a refund sent back to our customers. However, if diesel prices rise above $4 a gallon, there'll be an incremental increase assigned to the customers. That's automatically gonna happen as soon as we say yes to this. So it might be at 2025 right now, but diesel goes through the roof in 2026, and now another 4% gets tacked on, or 8 or 6 or whatever.
I think that was on the original contract.
Right, I just wanna make sure everyone's clear on that. I mean, we're gonna be flush, quote unquote, for right now, but, you know, we also could be upside down next year, or we could be positive next year, depending on gas prices, so. I just wanna make sure everybody's aware of that fact, when we say yes to this, you know, it's already included in the contract, so.
Well, and to add to what you just said, that's the thing I didn't understand here. It's because it says the contractor can charge a fuel surcharge if diesel prices exceed $4, and the fee increases by 3 cents for every 5 cents that the diesel price exceeds $4. Does that mean we're getting a 2-cent per gallon discount or something? I don't understand. The fee increases by 3 for every 5 cents that diesel increases?
Yes, that's my interpretation of that.
Okay.
And that's for the term of the contract.
Correct,
That
yeah.
we signed, yeah, I think it runs through 2026 or 7.
28.
28, yeah.
Yeah,
I knew it was for several years.
December 31st.
Any more questions? And so the motion is that we raise it
1.81%, which would be $20.21.
Yep. We got a motion and a second for that amount. Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell.
Yes.
The motion passes. We've got discussion and possible decision regarding strategy for reducing negative fund balance of the solid waste fund. Are you up again, Adam? You got a strategy?
Yeah, well, I'd say options. We have options. One option was that over time, slowly you chip away at it, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year, you chip away at that, which we did reduce it down last year by about $9,000. But at the 1.81%, obviously there's not gonna be enough surplus to do that. So the only other alternative would be to transfer money from the general fund to the solid waste fund and to make it, basically bring it back to zero. So,
And what's our current balance in the general fund account?
yeah, it's close to 4 million.
Yes, yep. It was like 4.7 at the end of '23, so we're right around that right now, yes.
Yeah, the 24.
Right.
So you're not talking about the 2025 budget, you're talking about transferring some reserves.
Yes,
Into
yes,
that.
some unrestricted cash, yeah.
So, and how did we get in this large negative position?
Well, starting in 2021, the city's contracted fees kept going up and there were no adjustments to.
We didn't adjust in time.
Yeah, so we did the first adjustment in late '22, mid '22. Corey, do you remember? I've got the-
July of '22.
Yeah, so we were trying to bring it back up, and we were kind of in the same situation where the council was trying to keep it, as minimum of an increase as possible, so, but yeah, that's how it got in the hole.
I would suggest that, Corey, if we start seeing a problem with what we just did, let's not wait. Let's bring it back up to council. If we gotta do a mid-year review, we should do that, especially if like fuel goes nuts one way or another.
Well, just for clarification, the fuel is not gonna impact it either way, because basically whatever happens,
That's a line item.
It's a line
I
item.
remember
You
that.
remember this?
Yes,
This is
I
something
do.
that.
I remember I pushed for
You
that.
did push for it, yes. So just for clarification for the new members, on the bill, Alderman Payson, and I'm not saying only Alderman Payson wanted it, but council as a whole wanted it to say, have the normal regular fee listed, and then if there was this diesel fuel surcharge to be listed separately. So if the city got charged a diesel fuel surcharge, it got listed separately, and the customers got charged separately. So it didn't, the city as a whole didn't lose money because it was just a pass-through cost. And on the flip side, if for some reason diesel fuel goes below and we get a refund, then we would also pass along as well. So we don't have that. The benefit of having a separate line item is that we're not sort of in that ambiguous situation where we don't know what's going to happen to fuel.
Is there any reason we wouldn't want to take 80,000 of the 4 million we have in reserves and apply it to the negative fund balance right now and get us back to zero? Instead of doing 3,000 a year, or 6,000 a year for the next, 20 years? I'm asking.
No, I mean, and that's why we're throwing it
you
out.
said we have
Yeah.
4 million. I mean, I would say why not just, let's get back to flush, make that $80,000 fund balance go back to zero.
I would agree with that.
That's my motion.
Now second.
We got a motion and a second. Is that negative fund balance really just on paper? I mean,
Yes,
It's
yeah.
not like we owe
No,
ourselves.
We owe, yeah.
We owe ourselves money.
Yeah.
So the 80,000 will then still be invested like the rest of the reserve, even though it's in a different fund. So we're not costing ourselves any interest money.
Correct. And just for clarification too, because we like to normally do transfers via resolution, we'd come back with a resolution for you guys to actually approve. It was intended to just get some guidance from us on what you want to do. We'll come back with a resolution.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
The only question I have is what happened in '23 that the negative fund balance increased by over $70,000? What happened? Because you said July of 22, you guys addressed it, and we're at like 13,000 negative fund balance. And then in December of 23, we're at 91,000 deficient.
You know, I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. I don't know if Matt or Corey, you guys have much to add it.
Could you find out for me?
Yeah, we'll look. Yeah.
Thanks.
I know partly too, just as an FYI, we were also trying to get some of the DPW costs factored into what the solid waste, but because DPW was contributing to the solid waste and doing the yard waste collection, et cetera, we were trying to recoup some of that. So I know that got built into the fee, but as a result, as the mayor alluded to, it's more about a paper thing. So as a result, that may have been partly it. I remember we had quite a bit of discussion about that in terms of what to set the fees at, but we'll double check for certain and get back to you.
It wasn't the leaf vac unit.
Leaf vac was also there, yeah.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. I'm just gonna let you explain it. Elaine's got just an opinion on your motion to, a little adjustment, I think.
We do need to have a resolution that comes back, so what I would suggest is if the maker of the motion and the second approve an amendment to it, to instead read a motion to authorize a resolution to be prepared,
That's fine.
making those adjustments.
Yeah, I agree.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a new motion and a new second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We've got discussion and possible decision regarding acceptance of a quote for purchasing and outfitting a Kenworth snowplow truck for $283,806. My understanding this was budgeted for. Matt, do you have any comments for us?
I put together a memo, it's in the packet. Yeah, we did budget for it, it's in the CIP for this calendar year, so we obviously collected quotes in the fall to be able to get a budgetary number together, and then we got revised quotes to actually see what it's gonna cost for this year. And not a lot difference. With the international is a little bit more, came in at 290,095, and then the Kenworth actually came in at 283,806 when you consider the build out from Burke of 161,900. So if you have any specific questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
To truck availability.
If we were to go with the Kenworth, they would start to build very soon, within the next month.
So we would have it when?
Well, we wouldn't probably use it until next year.
All right.
So we'd have it for then.
Well,
I hope not.
well,
I hope we're not.
my point is that
June.
we've ordered things and then it comes and goes, as I'm sure the chief would attest to, all his police cars that he hasn't gotten. That's why I'm saying, if one costs a little bit more, but we can get it versus a little bit less and not getting it and paying more for it anyway, that's all I'm saying, is availability.
I assume their work order, their quote would say, delivery within 90 days or 180 days or whatever.
I know I saw it in there when they had sent over the quote. It wasn't anything that blew my hair back or anything. I mean, it seemed like it was in line with whatever else, so I don't see any issues with that. The other consideration with the international, it was actually a little bit over the budget in consideration of that one. So
Okay.
not by much, but it was over. But we had budgeted 285, and with the Kenworth, like I said, it came to 283,806, and the international is at 290.
I make a motion to approve getting the Kenworth, assuming we're gonna get it in our lifetimes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a quick question on, is there any advantage to going with the international over the Kenworth? Maintenance, parts availability, anything like that we can kind of nip something in the bud that we don't have to look at years down the road?
I don't think so. I think Kenworth is a pretty solid truck, to be honest with you. A lot of ours are international because they've always ended up being a little bit cheaper, and they're not a bad truck either. But this Kenworth chassis, I think, is pretty good. So I feel confident in it.
Is there anything that this truck can be used for when it's not plowing snow?
Yeah, I don't know that we use one of our newer ones, but we have been hauling compost in them and things like that, so it's not just for snowplow.
Okay.
All right, can we have a roll call, please?
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Good discussion and possible decision regarding payment application number 2 from Visu Sewer LLC for the 2024 sewer rehabilitation project in the amount of $269,387.16.
This is just a progress payment to Provision Sewer, nothing above the contract, again, just enough progress payment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call? Peter, you did second.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion passes. Good discussion and possible decision regarding proposed contract with Valdewall and Associates to complete city comprehensive outdoor recreation plan.
Not to repeat the memo, but this was a budgeted item for 2025. We went with Vandal Associates back in 2020. We need to do a corp every 5 years to keep us grant eligible. So it allows like Katie James in the city to be eligible for grants. So we're looking just to use the same Vandal and Associates who we used in 2020. We have a good working relationship with them. Their key players are still on Vandal and Associates, so they have familiarity with Elkhorn. Just looking to move forward with using them to create an X Corp.
Any discussion? Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion passes. We've got a discussion and possible decision regarding declaring a 2010 Ford F-150 Water Department vehicle as surplus.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'm going to read this closed session
Book.
and then we'll get a motion to adjourn to closed session. The Common Council may entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 19.851E to deliberate an offer to purchase on public property, and that's Lot 73 in the business park. The Common Council may entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following reasons. Pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Sections 19.851B to consider dismissal, demotion, or discipline of any public employee or the investigation of charges against such person. Pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 19.851C to consider employment or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, and pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Sections 19.851F to consider financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data. And the Common Council may entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
We will reconvene into open session. We're back in open session. Do you need to note the time
Yes.
in your minutes? I don't know what time it is here, 7:06. Our first piece of business is the sale of lot 73.
I make a motion to approve sale, as listed in the agreement.
I'll second that.
Got a motion, a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
The motion passes. No action was taken on item B, so item C is the notice of claim filed by R&L Law and HSB for the First Evangelical Church.
I make a motion to deny.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The claim is denied, the motion passes, and a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.